To the midday news. The midday news is live on 99.7 FM and hits 103.9 FM in Accra, on Love 99.5 in Kumasi and myjoyonline.com. We're also live in all 16 regions of Ghana via our various affiliates, live on X Spaces and Facebook. The midday news is supported by Petrosol Platinum Energy, energizing dreams. This afternoon, NAT urges the new Mahama administration to prioritize challenges facing the education sector with nationwide food shortages in the country's senior high schools.
And I hope His Excellency will do whatever he can do. The same speed which has been attached to the energy matter, the same speed should be attached to this particular thing. When the energy matter came up, we have seen that satellite committee has been
We have more on this as 93% of participants in a Joy News WhatsApp poll call for a review of the free senior high school policy.
Those who can pay should be allowed to pay, and we should rationalize the process.
Meanwhile, President Mahama has announced plans to establish a planning committee for a National Education Review Conference to review Ghana's education system from kindergarten to the tertiary level.
I believe that this conference will come out with new ideas in order to provide us the outcomes that we need as a nation.
We have more on that coming up. Also, Finance Minister's designate plans to seek more IMF funding receives expert support, following concerns about the economy. And also, President Mahama's first ministerial appointments receive widespread praise, signaling strong support for their appointees to deliver on their mandate.
You need somebody with energy, somebody to run up and down, somebody to do it. And so for me, he ticks those boxes for me. And
I knew in my heart that, look, he speaks a language that everybody will understand, the language of finance, the language of economics.
Also this afternoon, residents of Ablekuma North constituency demand a rerun of the parliamentary elections as the Electoral Commission faces mounting challenges in resolving disputes over the results.
The constant back and forth is unnecessary. Both parties should agree to hold a re-election.
Well, we'll hear from the NPP's parliamentary candidate for the area who says she's confident of winning the seat if collation concludes. These and more with me, Maame Thompson. Joy News, independent, fearless and credible. Stay for details. And this afternoon, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, is charging the John Dramani Mahama administration to attach the same seriousness and tenacity adopted in dealing with the energy sector challenges to deal with challenges facing the education sector. The education front is faced with a series of challenges, with senior high schools struggling to feed students and colleges of education forced to postpone its reopening for the second time following turbulence on the industrial front. National Secretary of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, Primus Barrow, said the situation in some senior high schools remained troubling, with many facing food shortages despite receiving limited supplies.
Others are still in very dire situations, even with the supply of some food items. Admittedly, some food items have reached out to almost every school in this country. But I'm saying dire because what is actually needed to run or to feed the students is still woefully inadequate, especially for schools that are found in the northern belt and some in the middle belt and south. There's still lack, apart from rice. Typically, if you take a place like Upper West, Upper East, apart from rice, they do not have any other cereal. You can't talk about maize. You cannot talk about millet. So it is rice and nothing more. You go to what is used to make the soup. Some schools, for a long time, including my own school, don't have a single gallon of oil. So my matron, for example, will rely on things like margarine to do, and the margarine is finished. Next week, if I don't get margarine, there will be nothing to stand in for oil. So the situation is still, we are still not out of the blues, and the situation is not a uniform situation. Some are a bit okay, others are okay, and some are still in dire needs.
And the Ghana National Association of Teachers have been speaking on this. General Secretary Thomas Musa, speaking to Joy News, charged the new administration to show commitment to solving challenges facing the education front.
The president now has the goodwill of the people. And it is my hope and expectation that they will not wait until this goodwill evaporates. Because you see, there is something about goodwill. It is just a matter of time. If you do not manage the goodwill very well and the goodwill disappears, the rest will be anger, okay, and demonstrations. And it will be something that you cannot hold it. For the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the matters at the educational front, they are issues that are critical. They are critical. And we are hoping that the president will, as soon as possible, get these matters resolved so that we can take it out from there. Because any delay, look, we will be hearing rioting, demonstrations, and all those things in the schools. We all know the consequences of putting children in a house or in an enclosed place, and you tell them you will not give them. The churches have done their work. We have told the duty bearers that there is no food. If they sit back and allow this matter to escalate, then they should have themselves to blame. They should have themselves to blame, and that is why we are even talking about it. And I hope His Excellency will do whatever he can do. The same speed with which has been attached to the energy matter, the same speed should be attached to this particular thing. The same speed should be attached. When the energy matter came up, we have seen that suddenly committee has been constituted and everything is being done to get the matter resolved. I want to believe that in as much as we are hearing that the children have not eaten and not, I want to believe that the duty bearers will not be telling us that it is not something that is serious. They should not wait until venting our anger. Nobody can blame us.
And you heard the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Thomas Musa, there. Meanwhile, as many as 93% of respondents in a Joy News WhatsApp poll are urging the John Mahama-led government to review the free senior high school policy following escalating food shortages in senior high schools. The poll, conducted on January 9, garnered 1,179 participants, and lead research analyst with the Joy Research team, Isaac Kofi joins me in studio with more. Kofi, what does the poll say?
Well, so Maame, let's know that this is an unscientific opinion poll on social media, and just like you said, we had 1,179 participants, and out of that 1,100 said that, look, the free SHS program should be reviewed. That's about 93% or more than 93% of the participants. Right. In fact, 43 participants opposed any form of review, and then we also had 36 participants who abstained from choosing either of the two options that we provided in the poll.
Were there any reasons they were given for the review?
Yeah, I mean, there were comments, but majority of the people who participated said the free SHS needs a review. Right.
Thank you so much, Kofi J. Well, some parents who called into the Super Morning Show yesterday also strongly expressed their support for a review of the policy, advocating for financially capable parents to contribute to the ward's fees.
Those who can pay should be allowed to pay, and we should rationalize the process. How can a buffer stock go buy things and distribute the whole country when they can get, the school can get it? Let us scrap the whole idea of buying from buffer stock. Let the schools go to their local market. So we have fed them from the local market before they came to school.
There should be a special department maybe under GS to look at importing the importable items like the tin tomatoes and things they need to import, rather than giving it to people who add their profits to it. Somebody has to go into audit of who manages the supply of the food. There are canteen people who are pilfering food. We know all over the years.
I have never ever understood why the country will say for somebody like Thompson, Sian, Dr. Sian of Japan, Ibrahim Mahama, Nana Akufo-Addo, President Kufuor, and their likes, and MPs and chief executives. I've never understood this, that their children should enjoy free education. They, at least, reasonably, they have some coins. They can pay their children's school fees. We have thousands and millions of them in Ghana.
This free SHS thing, the problems were there from day one. It was envisaged. Professors of high repute have spoken. They were all shunned. They were insulted and blah, blah, blah.
Well, meanwhile, President John Mahama has announced plans to establish a planning committee for a National Education Review Conference which aims to address challenges and reform Ghana's education system from kindergarten to the tertiary level. Speaking during his first public engagement after being sworn in as president at the 92nd Annual National Jalsa Conference or Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission at Pomadze in the Central Region, he said the proposed National Education Review Conference will come out with new ideas on how to transform the education sector. Maxwell Agbagba has more on this report.
Cheers for President Mahama as he arrived at Kumasi for the annual National Jalsa or Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission Ghana. Speaking at the event, John Mahama announced plans to establish a planning committee for a national education review conference which aims to address challenges and reform Ghana's educational system.
We set up a planning committee to start working on the National Education Review Conference that I promised. This conference will review our educational system right from the kindergarten through the basic to secondary to tertiary to technical vocational education and identify what the hindrances to quality education are at each level of our educational system. I believe that this conference will come out with new ideas in order to provide us the outcomes that we need as a nation.
John Mahama also shared plans about the National Constitution Review Conference.
The new NDC administration is resolutely committed to strengthening our justice system to ensure judicial independence and address the systemic inequalities that currently exist.
Maxwell Ogbagba with that report, and he joins me from Kanda, where President Mahama is expected to attend a national Muslim prayer and Thanksgiving service. Maxwell, what can you report?
Well, Maame, this event will mark John Mahama's second public engagement after being sworn in as president. He's expected to address the Muslim community later. The Christian version of the National Thanksgiving prayers will take place tomorrow at UPSC at 3 p.m. Now, some individuals I spoke to here at the National Mosque ahead of the president's arrival expressed high expectations for the new government. They are eager to see John Mahama swiftly implement promises made to the Muslim community, such as significantly reducing the cost of performing Hajj, introducing an additional Eid holiday, and establishing Islamic banking, among others. I have one of them here with me. Hi, what's your name?
Buhari.
Yeah, Buhari, tell me. You were telling about expectations for the new government.
Yes, so I think ever since Mahama was sworn as president, I must tell you that the patriotism in me came back. I felt like Ghana is going to work again, and I believe that I trust the president that he will do whatever he can to make sure that we become the black star of Africa again.
Okay. So I just had one of them there speaking to me. So the prayers will be starting shortly, and John Mahama is expected to arrive here within some minutes.
All right, Maxwell, tell me, do we have any idea when this National Education Review Conference planning committee will be working or set in place?
Well, we do not have any indication on the timeline, but judging from what the president talked about yesterday, it's expected to be soon, because he acknowledged the challenges in the education sector, and he expressed his wish to fix those challenges. On the campaign trail, he expressed the desire to fix the challenges immediately. So it's expected that committee will be formed sooner than later.
Right, thank you. Maxwell Ogbagba is presidential correspondent. Away from Education, Finance Minister designate Dr. Cassiel Atoforsen's decision to pursue additional funding from the International Monetary Fund has received strong backing from economic experts who caution that failing to secure the support could have dire consequences for the economy. In an interview with Reuters, Dr. Atoforsen stressed the urgency of the situation, citing Ghana's current 3-year IMF program, which was initiated to address economic shocks stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war. Professor Godfred Bopping, a finance and economics expert at the University of Ghana, has expressed support for the move, noting that the initial $3 billion IMF package was insufficient to adequately address the magnitude of the economic challenges. And he joins us on the line for more. Doc, we're grateful for your time on the Midday News. You've mentioned that the initial $3 billion was insufficient. What gaps did it leave unaddressed, and how do you foresee the additional funding utilizing or being utilized to close these gaps effectively?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for having me on your program, and good afternoon to our service listeners. So, I think the call is in the right direction. If you look at the financing gap, as determined by the original IMF supported program, initially it was a little above $15 billion in terms of balance of payment needs. And then the IMF is only providing about 3 billion. I think about 1.6 or so billion is coming from the World Bank, a little from the African Development Bank. And then a bigger portion of that was actually supposed to come from the external debt restructuring. I think something in excess of $11 billion. If you look at the debt restructuring parameters, even from the domestic debt exchange and then also the external debt exchange, the bulk of the release were front-loaded. They have largely been utilized. Okay, so the space that was created has been clawed back to some extent, whether we like it or not. So going forward, there isn't sufficient fiscal relief from there to leverage on. Then again, if you look at how much is coming from the IMF itself, the $3 billion was also largely front-loaded. Okay, so a sizable chunk of that has been utilized already before the new government takes over and all of that. So this is a new government with a comprehensive election victory, a new mandate with high expectation and all of that. Okay, so it's very difficult to situate this new mandate within the existing IMF supported program and expect a different outcome. You'll be unique. It's just like the way the Bible puts it. A new wine cannot be put in an old wine skin. A new wine must be put in a new wine skin. And that is why there is a need for the renegotiation of the IMF supported program, have an enhanced program, and also with some extension in mind, right? That will offer stability beyond 2026. That is good for portfolio flows. That is good for FDI flows. That is good for long-term decision making. Then let's come to even 2024. If you look at the gross financing needs for 2024, we're looking at something around 54 billion cedis. It's just 27% of that was going to come from external support in terms of the IMF and the World Bank. The bulk of it, about 39 billion, would have to be mobilized from the domestic market. But because the government has been priced out of the medium to the long-term end, they have operated largely in the short-term end of the yield curve, relying on treasury bills. So 39 billion cedis has to be mobilized from essentially treasury bill, 91-day, 182-day, and then 364-day. And the rising cost is also quite steep, right? So to move away from that and ease the pressure on the yield curve and extend the yield curve, you will need a long-term, medium to long-term alternative on the market on a concessionary basis. And that is why I believe the minister designate is reaching out to the fund and our development partners for medium to long-term concessionary funding on the table, which will allow us to ease the pressure on the short-term end of the yield market and drive the rate down and create fiscal space for government going forward. Given that we've lost market access from the international capital market and then the medium to the long-term end of the domestic market, I think in the immediate, this is a good call.
Well, Prof, critics also argue that over-reliance on the IMF support could undermine our long-term economic sovereignty. And how would you address these concerns, very briefly?
You need wisdom, tact, to manage that delicate balance. IMF funding, World Bank funding, they are concessionary. Some of them actually don't carry any interest rate with some moratorium compared to expensive private capital. Look, this was the same situation we were in towards the end of 2021 when we were asking the government to go to the IMF early and get $3 billion concessionary, and they were talking about e-levy and then private and the rest. All of that didn't work. So I think where we find ourselves right now, this is what we need to do whilst we plan our medium to long-term way of raising sustainable finance resources and also cut wasteful expenditure, explore efficiency in our expenditure management, and I believe that in the medium to long term we'll be okay. Remember, this is not an overnight game. This is not like giving birth to a child overnight. No, we are in for long. Patience is also needed.
Right. Thank you so much, Professor Godfred Buckman. He's with the University of Ghana Business School. And in energy, the plan to avert a looming energy crisis in the next 10 days hangs in the balance as WAPCO awaits a formal response from its contractors on whether the scheduled shutdown of its critical pipeline can be postponed. President Mahama hinted that they'll need at least 3 weeks to alternative fuel ready for the thermal plants in Tema. WAPCO says initial engagements with contractors suggest a postponement is possible. There's more on the following report.
With just 10 days to the January 20 shutdown of the critical gas pipeline feeding Temas thermal plants, the clock is ticking. The plant maintenance risk triggering power shortages, but the government is betting on a lifeline, pushing for a last-minute postponement. At the Ahmadiyya National Convention in Pumaze, President John Mahama rallied hope, urging for more time.
There's a threat of power outages. When the fuel arrives, it takes time to import it, 3 weeks to place an order and get it delivered.
President Mahama has vowed to keep the lights on despite the evident challenges.
But my brothers and sisters, don't despair. We will make sure that your lights stay on.
Dr. Isaac Ejay Doku, WAPCO's General Manager of Corporate Affairs, hinted that while contractors are gearing up for the pipeline maintenance, talks are still underway to potentially hit the pause button on the schedule.
So we engage the various contractors that are going to do various aspects of the work. They all confirmed to us they can delay the work to up to 2 weeks. We just need the confirmation.
To address broader energy sector issues, government is eyeing privatization as a fix for ECG's revenue woes.
Going ahead with privatizing the last point of distribution of electricity to bring in private sector efficiency is something that we want to take up again.
World Bank Vice President for West and Central Africa, Osmani Diagana, pledged support for Ghana's energy reforms, but noted that discussions with energy stakeholders will only be included in next year's ongoing talks.
Given the challenges that Ghana was facing on energy, Ghana was not part of the first group of countries, but we have a roadmap that we can allow Ghana to be part of the second group generation of countries that will be built next year.
For Joy News, Michael Ashali.
Well, we stay a while longer in energy. President John Mahama's first round of ministerial appointments is earning high praise from industry leaders and civil society, signaling a strong start to his administration. Finance experts, including business leader Ken Thompson, have lauded the president's choices, expressing confidence in their ability to deliver results. Mr. Ken Thompson on the Super Morning Show described Dr. Kasela Tuforson, nominated to lead the finance ministry, as a youthful and competent leader with the experience to steer Ghana's economy. Similarly, John Jinapo's appointment to the Energy Ministry and Dr. Dominic Ayina's nomination as Minister of Justice are drawing commendation. Speaking on the Super Morning Show, Mr. Ken Thompson emphasized his optimism that Dr. Atuforson is the right person to tackle the challenges head on.
My knowledge is Ghana is being asked from being somebody who lives in a 2-bedroom house in Adenta, and now we're being asked to move to a 1-bedroom room in Abokobi. No disrespect. So, in this situation where you're in uncharted waters and you are appointing, who do you look for? Look for somebody with experience, understands what they're going to do, has done it before, can communicate, knows how to speak, because you need to speak to people. Economy is about sentiment. It's very critical that you communicate. Somebody who has a network of people. You need to make phone calls, you need to call your friends because you need help. But above all, you need somebody with energy. Dr. Atuforson is 46 years old. With all due respect, I'm 63. I can't do that job. If I hear tomorrow that he's put a bed in his office, that's what I expect. You need somebody with energy, somebody to run up and down. Somebody to do it. And so for me, he ticks those boxes for me, and I'm quite happy with the appointment so far. In terms of what we expect that he maintains fiscal discipline. With the energy minister, I don't know him personally. I don't know any of them personally, but when he's spoken, he sounds knowledgeable about the industry. The energy sector is another place that is in a mess, and no matter how they try to pull the wool over our eyes, it's an absolute mess. And he's also young. He talks about it knowledgeably. He has the experience. So, at least in these key areas, we have young people. And I stress the word young because, you can have all the knowledge in the world, you can have all the experience in the world, but if you don't have energy, you can have passion. But if you don't have energy, you can't execute. And we want people that can execute.
Meanwhile, founding president of Imani Ghana, Franklin Kujo, urged Dr. Atufo to prioritize reducing waste and tackling corruption in his role.
I think Atufo has got the discipline to understand that the accounts of this economy have to be balanced one way or the other. And he has a corporate experience. You know, when I say corporate, I don't mean investment banking. Investment bankers are overhyped. In fact, the kinds we've had in this part of our world, which eventually found themselves in politics, were overhyped and then led us into this whole rabbit hole, and then came up with all these things that we are dealing with right now. But we don't want those gambling type of investment bankers. And they should never ever come near the politics of power in this country because they don't really understand public policy and sound public policy service. I'm taking jabs at the previous finance minister, if you get my drift. But Alto has that corporate experience as well. He's seen it. He's run a firm that advises many governments across West Africa and Africa. I know that for a fact. And I think that at the risk of sounding overly enthusiastic, I think he's really seen the books of this country.
And you're still listening to the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. And still to come, residents of Ablekuma North constituency demand a rerun of parliamentary elections on the Electoral Commission faces mounting challenges in resolving disputes over the results.
The constant back and forth is unnecessary. Both parties should agree to hold a re-election.
Where did I? Now I don't know when I just saw.
Obiang, what's the chrome ha? And to want to say petrol software energizing dreams for motion. Hey boy. Petrosol are celebrating their 10 years in grand style. They're giving back to their loyal customers. Hope you have registered at their online portal. Don't say I didn't tell you, oh.
Each month, customers will stand a chance of winning items like tricycles, motorcycles, television sets, refrigerators, phones, fuel vouchers, and many more. But the best part is that at the end of the promo, we will be giving out a grand prize of 2 Suzuki Espresso cars to lucky winners who stay with us all through the promo period. All you need to join is to visit any of our over 100 stations across the country to get registered, or go to www.petrosolcrm.com to register online.
Petrosol, energizing dreams.
Welcome back, and we have sports.
Well, the Black Satellites players from the 2009 FIFA Under-20 World Cup winning team have been invited to collect their matured investment checks by the SAS Finance Group. The institution wrote to the Ghana Football Association to notify players following the maturity of their 15-year investments made on behalf of the team. It was made by the Ministerial Youth and Sports after the team won the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Egypt. In all, 210,000 cedis was made on behalf of 21 players who were called up for the tournament by head coach Selastese, with each player allocated an amount of 10,000 Ghana cedis by the Ministry of Youth and Sports in 2009.
Thank you, Achu. And some constituents of the Ablekuma North constituency are urging the Electoral Commission to rerun the parliamentary elections in the area. These calls come amidst ongoing disagreements between the NDC and the MPP over the collated results. The returning officer publicly stated that he had no longer participated in the process. The Electoral Commission has yet to announce a way forward. The situation escalated following a dispute on Wednesday, January 8, which brought the collation process to a halt. Speaking to Joy News, some residents of Ablekuma North emphasized the need for the Electoral Commission to organize a fresh election.
There's a constituency be our MP any video. Re-election because back and forth, the doors from constituency. I see.
The constant back and forth is unnecessary. Both parties should agree to hold a re-election.
MPP and this into Mohuasi. No money re-election. Now first we get Emrani MP and Mumni Abeboa constituency.
Every before no more bahache, but I'm better now. I'm on boy. 80% I'm on family Rabna. We
have had the same MP for 20 years, yet there are no visible developments. It is time for a change.
And it's time now for social media trends. We have M and J, but today we have K substituting the M. Right? Kofi, you're welcome. What's trending?
Thank you.
A lot is trending,
right.
but Kofi, you start.
All right, so I'll go with President Mahama, who has been trending on Twitter after he addressed the nation and talked about the fact that Ghanaians elected, the government to solve problems, and so they will make sure that we don't have them. So people are saying that that's a different kind of leadership because they tried to sabotage his government, but he's even speaking about it in a very nice way. Someone said, "This is a leader speaking, not in Nebuchadnezzar." I don't know. One person also said, "Ayeduase Pulisic." Now this is how a father and a president speaks to his people. Piao. So yeah, that's one thing that's trending.
Well, away from that, Afenyo Makinti has been trending after some statement he made in the floor of Parliament yesterday, especially on the fact that he said we shouldn't address him as Mr. Barada or Sahini Alexander Afenyo Makin. I wanted to play that song, but the time wouldn't allow us. But he's trending on social media.
Well,
and Christian Achu is also trending anyway.
Okay,
he would have been
latest?
33 today.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So rest in
Very
peace
sad.
to Christian Achu.
Yeah, and on the entertainment front, Artist of the Year is trending. It's that time of the year where everyone is trying to pitch their artists to us to see that they deserve
Who do you
to
think
be
is
there.
going to take it?
I was telling Kofi that I think him promised, but he was giving me reasons as to why he doesn't think so. But we have a mashup of all the names that they've been mentioning.
We have to end the midday news, but we wish them all the best. Thank you so much, Kofi and Jackie. And that's how we end the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. It was also live on Hits 103.9 FM in Accra, on Love in Kumasi, and myjoyonline.com. I am Maame Thompson. Pastor Mensa Otterbull is up next.